Hey guys, welcome back to Puffalado, welcome back to Café Enchanté. I'm still pissed at the fucking uncle, and I'm pissed at the cow that showed up that randomly could speak the language, and I'm just angry. We're just gonna get right into it. Hopefully Ignis isn't, like, depressed beyond belief. Ugh. We stayed behind. The confusion, the shock, it all lingered in that wintry air in the light of Ignis's truth. Ignis. I came out of hiding from behind the ice blocks and called upon him, but his gaze was pointed to the ground and he refused to answer. Then he told me to back away. The flames covering his body ignited, as if to reject anyone from coming in.
やっと見つけました。
Something white, other than snow, came descending from the night sky. His wings were spotted with black. We heard his voice trembling in the cold, and we saw it belonged to... Eel! Eel! What are you doing here?
それはどちらかというと、こちらのセリフかと。
Eel, who appeared before us, shivered profusely, just as he did the last time he visited Bestia.
あなたの姿が消えたので、もしやと思い、GPM のホールから捜索しに来たのです。
Oh, that's right. Sorry for worrying you. Are you okay in these conditions? Wait, of course not.
はい。ここまでたどり着くのに大規模な探知術式を連発しましたので、最低限の体力と体勢しか残っていません。
Every now and then he swiped the snow that fell upon his wings, and Eel, unaware of what just happened, called out to Ignis.
なのでイグニス、経緯は知りませんが、あなたが交流していて助かりました。今の私にはおそらく万が一戦闘行動に入った時に震える力がありませんから。
そうか。
Oh, Ignis.
イグニス、どうしました？何やらいつもより声色が。
Eel, please let him be, and don't cry too much for now.
わかりました。ではひとまずこのままゲートへと戻りますか？
Yes, we were planning to spend the night here, but if we do, Eel might pass out. But first I have to find Kororo. He's still inside the Firewolf stronghold.
では私が迎えに行きましょう。縄張りとは先ほど上空から見えた炎の灯る場所に違いありませんか？
Yes, and if you can, could you tell Dromi that we're going home too? He nodded in affirmation and powered through his tiredness towards the Firewolf stronghold. I stepped into the snow, walking towards the silent Ignis. Let's go home, Ignis, I muttered to him quietly.
戻るなら、お前らだけで戻れ。
Stop being a little bitch. Stop. Like, seriously, that's not an option. No, you're coming home.
俺は。
It was painful, but I understood why he refused to come along. There was so much he needed to process. But I just couldn't. I couldn't leave Ignis, who looked ready to collapse behind by himself. So I reached out to him. I took his trembling arm and put it under mine. I wouldn't let go until he nodded. I found my resolve, holding this thought as I grasped him firmly against me. It seemed as though Ignis barely had the strength left for anything, much less to shake me off. Let's just go home. Fuck your uncle. Fuck the cow. Fuck all of this shit. What was all of it for? My path, my entire life, any of my convictions. All of my beliefs were shattered and my vision darkened, growing dim under the sharp moonlight. Like an idiot, the emotions began to pile in my heart. I wanted nothing more than to scream. It took everything out of me to contain it. The thin, soft hand which hung desperately to me belonged to Kotone. I had no idea what to tell her. look at Kotone directly, so when I shifted my gaze, I spotted, coincidentally, the blood splatter left from my skirmish with the Minotaurs. In that moment, the smell of blood paints my vision red. Then... I couldn't understand what I had done in this situation. I'd instinctively cover my mouth. What was that? Why did I react that way to the blood? My memories are fragmented. I don't even know what I was thinking inside the red periphery. Only an odd sensation, one that ignited in my chest. It turned my heart into a burning star. Oh god, he's gonna eat people. God, this is so bad. Oh lord. Ignis, control yourself, get it together. Sometime afterward. Koro, who Eel went to retrieve, was returned to me. As we made our way back to the gate so that Eel won't pass out. Koro stuck his body out of my arms and probed curiously around the area. In particular, he was fixed on one location, unwilling to budge. What's the matter, Koro? Let's go home. Huh? What? Which part of my body was he prodding at? Oh, God. Oh, I'm so nervous. I'm so afraid. That night, we managed to make it back safely. To alleviate our exhaustion, we decided to rest in our respective rooms. As for the Minotaurs we saw jumping into the wormhole before the Ignis revelation, Connus and the GPM agents who stood guard had already taken them all into custody. A day later, all of the exhaustion I accumulated in that freezing world finally began to leave me. I got up out of the bed, but I couldn't shake the anxious thoughts. One thought more than others.
だってよ、殺してるだろ。ビニトルの縄張りが襲われた時、襲ってきた魔獣を同族のビニトルもろとも全員な。
The revelations from the Minotaur and...
おい、おじき。何黙ってんだ。こんな時に冗談はやめろ。俺はあの時、誰も殺さず魔獣を追い返した。ガキだった俺にそう教えたのはあんたらだろうが。
すまない、イグニス。だが、お前自身が一番分かっているだろう。蘇った記憶が間違いではないと。
なんだよ、そりゃ。
Why did they have to show the fucking uncles again? Just making me angry all over again. The image of Ignis's distraught face was burned in my mind. Ignis. We immediately headed to our respective rooms after getting here, but I haven't spoken to him since. In fact, I don't even think he ever made eye contact with me. Koro, perhaps out of worry, slept next to me in my bed, nestling his soft, plump body against mine. Thanks to... I don't know the gender of Koro anymore. I'm just gonna say Koro. Thanks to Koro, I could finally wake from my half-sleep, half-dreaming state of consciousness. Thanks, Koro. I guess it's no use for me to dwell about it. I patted them as a gesture of thanks. Huh? My fingertips froze, processing Koro's abrupt demonstration of speech. Kororo eagerly flapped their hands in their tail, repeating those two words. Part of me started to think it was a desperate plea. What? Food? You want some food? Are you saying you want me to feed you like I did for Ignis? The thing is, I've never heard or seen Kororo nag me for food like this before. But because they were, I picked them up and we headed down to the kitchen. I placed slices of raw fish onto a plate that Kororo might eat, since they resembled a seal, and I figured seals enjoyed fresh fish. But... Oh! Kororo expressed no interest in the fish. Instead, they shied away from it, completely disinterested. Huh? I took it to mean he wasn't hungry, or they weren't hungry, but... Was Kororo just repeating some words they recently learned? It was unclear to me what they meant by those words. As I was completing my mise en place for today's breakfast menu, the regulars began to arrive. Rindo, who came in rather early, Dromi, who accompanied him, and note that Dromi didn't say anything. Fucking best friend my ass. Okay, I should be lighter on Dromi. Dromi's had a rough life, I know. Mizir, back from the demon world, Canis, who held down the minotaurs yesterday, the somewhat sleepy-looking eel, and the forlorn Ignis, thus completing the party. As we all partook in the meal, I recounted what happened the previous day to Mizir and the others. Then, after I finished my synopsis, Mizir fell deep into thought.
イグニスが魔獣として異常で危険だから、どんな手段を使っても倒したい。ね。なんか、危険とか、どの口が言うのかね。あの牛くんたちの方がよっぽどじゃない？
Canis appeared to be in agreement, nodding calmly but affirmatively.
だが、ただのでっち上げにしては、奴らは体を張りすぎている。アルムムが利用しているホールは、あくまでも一方通行。落ちたら最後。故郷には二度と戻れない。それが全世界共通の認識のはずだろ
う。まあそうっすよね。連中は GPM のホールやここのゲートのことは知らないはずっす。ってことは、そんな悲壮な覚悟を決めてまで兄貴を狙いに来てるってことっすもんね。
つまり真偽はともかくイグニスが危険という妙な大義名分がある限り、アルムムたちはホールを見つけてはこの町を襲撃しに来るということですね。
But that's crazy, because he wasn't even there. He was in Bestia, and none of the Minotaurs showed up until the very end. So, what? They're just jumping into the hole being like, where's he at? Like, it's so dumb.
だろうけど。いる。君大丈夫？いつもよりぼーっとしてるような。
ああ、いえ。昨夜の消耗がまだ回復しきっていないだけです。どうぞ話を続けてください。
Mizir picked up where they left off.
とりあえず、アンシャンテやその周囲が脅威にさらされるなら、俺たちにとっても人事じゃないよ。魔獣そのものは、俺たちからすればなんてことないけど、人間には十分すぎる脅威だもんね。
Then Ignis, who had maintained silence this whole time, finally opened his mouth.
別に、なの、俺がここから離れりゃ解決する話だろうが。
But that's... Out of reflex, I interjected, but before I could complete my thought.
論外。
あ？
論外なんだよ、イグニス。君がいなくなれば解決。なんて話はね。だって大ぐらいの君がいないとさ、アンシャンテの売り上げが大幅に落ち込んじゃうわけだよ。
Wow.
結果ここが潰れてしまっては元も子もないだろう。
ええ、それに問題を起こしているのはあくまでアルムム。あなた自身が被害を出してもいないのに害あるような言い方をするのはよろしくないかと。
僕からも一言いいなら随分とらしくないなってそんな風に思うよ、イグニス。
うっせ。
Although it was undeniable that his demeanor was atypical, Ignis was unwilling to argue his stance any further. After listening to their exchange, I let out a heavy sigh of relief. Everyone thinks of Ignis as an integral part of this place. Enchanté was a home away from home for them, and kicking him out was absolutely out of the question. I'm glad, as I muttered under my breath. I locked eyes with Ignis, who seemed to have picked up on my voice, but he remained speechless and blithely turned away. I knew it. He had been avoiding me ever since the previous night. I just knew it.
では話を戻すとしよう。アルムム、彼らの横暴は人間界そのものを危機にさらしているのだ。それをこのまま見過ごすわけにはいかぬ。ここは我々も手を打つべきだと考える。
余計なことすんな。これはベスティアと俺の問題だ。てめえの不始末はてめえでつける。
Ignis, I'm about to smack you in the head, so you better sit down and frickin' cooperate with the team.
やれやれ。今日の君は何かと自分一人で抱え込もうとするね。
Rindo just said that in a nicer way than me, but
具体的にどう解決するつもりなんだい？アルムムたちの根城もわからないんだろ？
それに時間をかければホールと人間界の関連性が他の凶悪な魔獣にも伝わるかもしれません。そうなってしまえばこれ幸いとアルムム以外の魔獣たちまで一斉に人間界に押し寄せる可能性もあるでしょう。
兄貴、ここは皆さんに協力してもらった方がいいっすよ。物理的な力しかねえ俺らだけじゃさすがにどうにもできないっす。平和な人間界に味を占めて戦争まがいなことを仕掛けそうなやつだって魔獣には5万といるじゃないっすか。
Vizier and the others considered Ignis's silence as a silent agreement, so they carried on discussing a plan of action.
じゃあ話をまとめると、俺たちが取るべき行動の候補は2つ。まず1つ目、この町につながってるっていうベスティアのホールの脅威をなくすこと。
それは確かに重要ですが、現実的な意見ではありませんね。ホールは基本的に我々の手にも負えない未知の現象ですし。
だね。俺も天崎島の件はともかくとして、ホールなら何でもかんでも閉じれるわけじゃないし。
ならせいぜい発生する場所を事前に特定して魔獣の侵入を警戒するぐらいかな。
しかしそれでは後手に回り続けてしまう。であれば、
そう、2つ目の候補。こっちが大本命になるかな。アルムム。彼らがわざわざ戦いの場を人間界にする理由をなくすこと。
Which means, if we can eliminate the notion that they must eliminate Ignis at all costs, then they wouldn't have to come here in the first place, right?
そういうことになるな。それさえ解決すれば人間界が戦場となることもなくなるだろう。
The reason the Minotaur started targeting Ignis all of a sudden was...
そもそもよ、正気を失って暴れる魔獣なんざてめえ以外にはいねえんだよ。 魔獣はもともと自分勝手で残酷。だからこそそれを当然のこととして狂わねえ。どいつも理性を保ってる。だがてめえは違う。戦い狂って暴れ。理性を保って戦う俺たちよりもよっぽど厄介じゃねえか。
They had to include his laugh in the flashback.
奴らが危険とみなしているイグニスの特殊性、便宜上暴走本能と呼ぶか。それを何とかすればよいという話になるな。
That sees Arumum as a danger? What's Arumum?
それができれば苦労しねえよ。
だろうね。聞く限り無意識的なもののわけだし、あの時帝が困惑した理由も納得だよ。
ガキの頃に身内から聞いたことがあってよ。魔獣は激しい戦いで闘争本能を刺激しまくると正気を失って見境なく暴れちまうんだ。
おお、その件に関しては僕も初耳だな。
Oh yeah, he was confused. That was a helpful flashback.
アルムムの言葉を鵜呑みにするなら、イグニス以外の魔獣からそんな前例が見つかるわけがないしね。
Oh, but in terms of their sanity or lack thereof, it seems like all of the Minotaurs we've encountered were in a similar state. So how do we explain that? I posed the question sincerely, which prompted Rindo to pull out a tablet and fiddle with it for a bit.
そっちは帝が答えを出してくれたよ。どうもアルムムたちには投薬された形跡があるんだ。
What? They were drugged?
うん。ただ、どこの薬かまではまだ特定できてないらしい。
Whatever those drugs were, they had to be serious.
言うなれば、正気を失う代わりに身体能力を上げる。そういう類のものだね、あれは。
Drugs. I could hardly fathom such a thing ever existing in Bestia. Which leads me to ask, is it from here?
ともかくだ。つまりアルムムたちはてめえらのサガで狂ってるわけじゃねえ。
Oh, Arumum is how they say Minotaur. That's what it is.
戦いで来る魔獣はやっぱ俺だけってことだ。
ここで気遣っても仕方ないし、そこは素直に認めるしかないよね。同じビニトルの男も肯定したって話したし。
Is there any way that his rampage instinct could be cured using Eel's magic? I might have come off as unreasonable, but if not totally naive, but when I glanced over to Eel, it seems he put serious consideration to my inquiry.
精神的な抑制ですか。それに近しい法術は得得していますが、現状では何とも言えませんね。特にそれがイグニスの根幹。例えるのならば、人間でいうところの生理現象のようなものであれば、いくら抑制しようとも必ずタガが外れる時が来るでしょう。
So, it's like his trauma response, right? So, what we should be doing is trying to make it so that instead of reacting to stressful situations with his trauma response, we should try to make it so that he reacts in a different way, and then that way he wouldn't blow up and go like rampage mode, you know? But I don't know, that's really hard to do. It would take like years of therapy or something. You have a point.
ま、とにかくわかんないものは仕方ないよ。やれることからやっていこう。まずは暴走本能について詳しく調査かな。
His ear cut in, displaying his trademark smile. Then, in a hushed tone of voice, he spoke solemnly.
あとは万が一だけどさ、イグニスが本当に暴走したら 俺たちはそれを止めなきゃいけないし、曲がりなりにも実力は知ってるから、そりゃもうきっと本気で下手をしたら命のやり取りになるかもしれない。
Ignis two hands.
そうなったらどこが舞台だろうと周辺への影響もただじゃ済まないしさ。まああとは同じアンシャンテの常連で、もっとシンプルに言えば仲間同士でそんなことしたくないじゃない。
Silence hovered in the air between us. But in that silence, everyone's renewed resolve seemed to find its footing.
よし。ならばやはり、イグニスの過去についてよく知る他のビニトルに話を聞くべきだろ
う。なら、ベスティア行きは確定かな。いる。君もあったかくしていきなよ。
ええ、次回はそれを念頭に、いわゆる気合を入れて臨みましょう。
And so the discussion concluded. Nazir and some of the others arranged for a trip to the Firewolf stronghold the very next morning. However, if I were to stay here all alone again, there's a chance that the suspicious person would return to fling me back in. So it was decided that it would be safer if I traveled with them. At the end of our discussion, as everyone rose from their seats, Ignis. I called upon him instinctively, seeing as he was the last to rise from his seat.
なんか用か?
That's not the response I was expecting. Nothing in particular, but...
なら引き止めんな。
Ignis spat these words out, saying nothing else as he turned his back to me and stomped upstairs. A piece of silverware caught my eye. It sat on the edge of the plate, and I saw it as it lost its balance and fell onto the table. The spot where it fell was the same where Ignis was sat earlier. Oh. Then I realized. The breakfast I had prepared for Ignis was hardly touched. It was left uneaten, long since cooled. Ouch. Once everybody left the scene, I stared blankly for a few moments at Ignis's leftover breakfast. I tried my best that I could to make him feel at least a little better. I even used some of his favorite seasonings and whatnot, but I guess it wasn't to his liking. No, that wasn't it. At the moment, for Ignis, his entire belief system, his entire way of life had utterly crumbled. He had no strength in him to enjoy a meal. I reminded myself of this. Despite how hard I tried to convince myself, it was nevertheless impossible to lament.
店主さん、ちょっといいっすか?
Just as I was succumbing to my own gloom, Dromi appeared all of a sudden behind me and called out to me. What's the matter? I thought you were on your way to Bestia already.
いや、なんつうか、もやもやするもんがあって、戻ってきちゃったんす。
What's bothering you?
さっきの話し合いのことっす。
I detected a hint of reservation in Dromi's voice as he opened up.
なんか、勝手に兄貴の本能を直すみたいな流れになっちまったじゃないですか。
Oh, right. Does that worry you?
当然じゃないですか。魔獣の中でただ一人兄貴だけが暴走するってことはすげえ特別だからっすよね。兄貴が最強無敵な理由もそこにあるかもしれないんすよ。だからその強さにつながってるもんを解決っつうか取り上げられるのはどうしても我慢できないっす。
I fell speechless, surprised by the sentiment behind Dromi's emotional complaint. The man I saw before me was not the usual dull and haphazard lad that he is, but instead I saw a man who admired and wanted to protect Ignis's strength.
もちろんこのままじゃ危険なのは俺だって分かってるっすよ。でも兄貴は強いからこそ兄貴なんす。
That isn't a good answer. Like, I'm gonna hold it back. I'm gonna say it after.
ベスティアを変えたいと必死にあがいてトップに立ったその力は兄貴の奇跡そのものなんすよ。
Dromi cried out passionately, reminding me of the heart behind Ignis's mission in life. That's...
あんただって危ないところを兄貴の力に散々守られてきたじゃないですか。それを今さらこの店にとって危険だから切り捨てるって、そんなのいくらなんでも都合が良すぎるんじゃないですか。
By this point, Dromi was almost yelling, but he made a good point. But I'm gonna save. And we're gonna stop here. I'm gonna just say that I really don't like the way that he worded that. Like, again, I just feel like maybe I'm just bullying Dromi all the time and I really just don't like him, like, as a person or something like that. But, like, it doesn't sound like he likes Ignis for who he is. He likes Ignis because he's strong. Like, that's kind of what he said. He was like, oh, you guys are just trying to take his strength away from him and stuff like that. Isn't that a little inconsiderate? And it's like, but he didn't say anything. And clearly Ignis is hurting. Like, Ignis doesn't want to kill people. He doesn't want to kill anything. Like, and I think that if Ignis could, he would have taken his, like, killings back in the day back in a heartbeat. So, like, for him to be like, oh, well, like, he's my bro because, like, my bro is strong. It's just like saying, like, oh, well, I just like him because he's strong. I don't like him because of his personality or anything. Like, and it's like, what? Like, why would you say it like that, dude? And then why not bring this up in front of the group? Why only to Kotone? What's Kotone supposed to do? Like, she's not going out to Bestia, like, searching the place. Like, she's not even talking to Ignis right now. She's crying over his leftover breakfast. So I don't understand why he's just, like, venting to her and, like, yelling at her, you know? I just don't like it. Just, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm so curious. Like, do you like Dromi? Like, I feel really bad for him now that we've learned that his entire family got, like, wiped out and everything like that. And maybe, like, I feel like maybe in a way he's very jealous of Ignis because, like, again, as the last of his clan, maybe he, like, if he had that power, he would do something different. But at the same time, like, bro, really? You're really gonna just trash on your brother like that and say, like, oh, like, well, he's nothing without his power or something like that? I don't know. I know he didn't say that in those words, but it just comes off that way, you know? It's just so insensitive. And, next episode, we're gonna answer Dromi, I guess. We're gonna see, does Ignis want this, or I don't know. We're gonna find out.